Welcome to Husker Storm blog. This is my Week 10 predictions, and of course we're going to review Week 9. So let's get started on that. National title race definitely clearing up. 5 more undefeateds were eliminated. 2 of the 3 one-loss teams defeated. There's still work to be done, but this could be how it finishes with Notre Dame, Oregon, Kansas State, and Alabama going undefeated. I think if that were to happen, we would see Oregon, Alabama. Oregon's left in the polls. They might not be as high in the computers as Kansas State and Notre Dame, but they will narrow that gap as the season progresses and their schedule gets challenging. And they got that championship game, which Kansas State and Notre Dame do not have. So let's get started. We've got Bama, who dominated an overrated, outmatched Bulldogs team last week. Kansas State rolled Texas Tech, another impressive win. Florida committed 6 turnovers and 2 costly ones in the red zone as they give the control to Georgia in the SEC East. And they're pretty much eliminated from the national title race. Notre Dame was questioned big time going into this Oklahoma game, even by me. I questioned their secondary, but that front seven is so good it doesn't matter how bad that secondary is, which the secondary is obviously not close to a suspect as many people thought, myself too included. And they got a huge one in Norman over Oklahoma. Mike Riley's luck finally ran out as the Huskies defeated another top 10 team at home. Ohio State proved me wrong and dominated Penn State in Happy Valley. South Carolina lost Marcus Lattimore to a nasty injury. His career could be over. Sounds like it's getting more positive every day, but he is out indefinitely. Rutgers was dominated by Kent State at home. Louisville took another step closer to winning the Big East as they defeated one of their toughest opponents in the Big East in Cincinnati, and they look like the Big East favorite. Denard was knocked out against Nebraska, but that didn't change the outcome as Nebraska cruised, and they are the Big Ten favorite, of course, and they got a huge win for Bo. Wisconsin was dominated by Michigan State. The game did go to overtime, but Wisconsin had no success running the ball. Stave is out with a broken collarbone, so he probably will not return. Possibly return for the bowl game. I'm not sure, but he will not be in any Big Ten games. Ohio falls from the unbeaten as Miami, Ohio defeats them. UCLA beat ASU, unlike I anticipated, but I did anticipate a special teams play winning it, like I predicted. I had ASU winning on some kind of special teams play. It ended up being UCLA. USC lost any chances of a national title as the underrated Wildcats from Tucson, Arizona defeated them. This U of A team has 3 losses to all ranked teams in 2 games that they could have won, and an Oregon game that should have been a loss closer than it was, but they just didn't finish off the job in the red zone. And USC has yet to beat a team with a winning record. So I don't know how you could rank them. They still have love in the computers for some reason. Does that have to do something with the preseason poll? I'm not sure. Probably. But I have trouble putting them on rankings. They just happen to fit in there right now, and I don't think they're going to get a win against a team with more wins than losses anytime soon until maybe they play ASU and UCLA because they're not going to beat Oregon. Number 1, I've got Alabama. They're the undisputed. Kansas State at number 2. That schedule was strong thus far. Notre Dame answering the call at number 3. Number 4, Oregon. They should roll through the rest of their schedule and move up to the number 2 spot and play for the national championship, even if K-State or Notre Dame go undefeated. Florida, I think they're still the best in the SEC East. LSU has a chance to make a statement here against Alabama at home. Ohio State on their way up. They just beat Penn State. Florida State should go undefeated for the rest of the year. They're at number 8. Number 9, South Carolina. They got to finish without Marcus Lattimore. We'll see how that goes. Georgia at 10. They control the SEC East now. 11, Louisville. They could go undefeated. Clemson, they should be in place to get a BCS, even if they lose to South Carolina at the end of the year. Oklahoma, they must avoid that fall that they've had of late in the past couple of years. Texas A&M at 14, 15 Nebraska, they're the favorite to win the Big Ten. 16 Stanford, inconsistent. 17 I've got Texas Tech. They need a bounce back this week against Texas. 18 I got Oregon State. Looks like they're losing confidence. They can't afford to lose against ASU this weekend. 19 I got Mississippi State. They're going to be falling as they've got A&M looming this weekend. 20 USC there, by far the biggest disappointment of college football. 21 UCLA, they control the South along with USC, but they get Stanford and USC at home. U of A still in that South race, and they're a huge surprise this year. 23 Boise State, if they make it to a BCS Bowl, that would be a disgrace. 24, I don't know who to put here, so I'll put Texas. They were awful this last week. Maybe I put Louisiana Tech there, I don't know. 25 Oklahoma State, they got a chance to make a statement here with defeating Kansas State. So let's go to my BCS Bowl game predictions. The Rose Bowl, I've got Nebraska. Last week I had Wisconsin. I thought Wisconsin was playing better football. Stave's out now, and their quarterback situation doesn't look any better. Their offensive line hasn't really played any better. I mean, they played two teams that obviously can't stop the run in Minnesota and Purdue and Illinois, and then they just played a team who can who's really good defensively, and they got completely shut down, half a yard a carry. There's no way I can have them winning a rematch against Nebraska. I actually think Nebraska would blow them out the second time around. And I have Nebraska playing Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl. I don't think a Pac-12 team gets high enough up. They have to be in the top 12 to be able to go to BCS Bowl. USC, they're going to lose again without question. And if they get to the Pac-12 championship, they're going to lose again. So they're going to be a 9-4 team at best. Or I mean, 9-4 team at best. It's not going to cut it. Oregon State 9-3 is not going to cut it. UCLA Stanford 9-3 is not going to cut it. Both those teams got to play Oregon. They're going to lose, and they also have to play each other. And I think Oregon State loses to Stanford. Even if they don't, they got a good chance to lose this weekend against ASU. UCLA. I mean, if they win out and they make it to the Pac-12 championship and lose to Oregon in an impressive loss, they didn't get blown out. Maybe they get in there at 10-3. We'll have to see, but I think there's no way that the Rose Bowl can pass up on Nebraska versus Oklahoma. K-State versus Clemson, the Fiesta. The Fiesta gets second go-around after the at-larges the replacements are picked. And I think they'll take Clemson. Actually, I think they'll take Notre Dame. And there's no question that I think the Wildcats make it to this one. Because I don't see Oregon losing. So I have K-State, Notre Dame in that one. That one stayed the same. That'll be interesting. That's going to be a 3-4 matchup. The third-ranked team and the fourth-ranked team. Florida versus Clemson in the Sugar Bowl. They'll choose Florida because Georgia will lose and be 10-2 or 11-2. Florida will be 11-1. They're not going to like the team that already just played in the SEC championship and lost to go play, and they don't like to do that. I think they take Florida. Florida State versus Louisville, the two obvious ones to win their respective conferences. In the national championship, I have Alabama versus Oregon. I think Oregon's going to climb with the remaining schedule being the hardest of. And they're not far off from Kansas State or Notre Dame right now in the BCS. So my Heisman, I have Colin Klein at 1, Monte Teo at 2. 3, I've got Braxton Miller after he fell out last week. 4, I got A.J. McCarron, and my new dark horse is Kenyon Barner. He's going to get an invite, I think. Kenyon Barner will. I don't think Braxton Miller has a chance to win it. But Colin Klein's the obvious favorite by a huge margin. And unless his team loses, Colin Klein will be holding up that. Unless Alabama starts relying on A.J. McCarron a little bit more. He's got impressive numbers, but Colin Klein is the heart and soul of his team. So let's get to my Week 10 predictions. Nebraska and Michigan State. This matchup is a matchup that Nebraska loves. Defensively, Nebraska can stop the pro-style offense. They can stop those immobile quarterbacks. They can throw all types of blitzes and pretty much play man-to-man bump and run coverage like they love to do. And we saw what happened last year when Nebraska faced what was an efficient Spartans offense and turned it into an anemic Spartans offense, holding them under 200 yards into 3 points. Now they face an anemic one that has been anemic all year and is only averaging 19 points a game. Get this, they have 4 plays of over 40 plus yards. Nebraska has 29. Yeah, I mean, that's how bad they are offensively, and that's how much better Nebraska is offensively. But Michigan State does have a defense. They have what I believe is the best defense in the Big Ten. And last year, Nebraska didn't have a whole lot of success offensively, but they did score 24 points because their defense played well enough to give them a short field. The Spartans got a huge road win last week. Now they come home with an opportunity to throw in the Big Ten favorite. They still have a chance in the division, but it's really an unrealistic shot. Look for Nebraska to bring that radar look like they did last year with 4 standing linemen, D linemen, and created chaos for that Michigan State offensive line, and it completely shut down what was a pretty good offense. I think they don't have a whole lot of success. Le'Veon Bell is not going to have a whole lot of success. Nebraska's going to stop the run, force them to pass the ball, and the Spartans are going to have all kinds of trouble offensively. Nebraska's going to score 2 offensive touchdowns like they have in their last 20 games. That's an impressive streak, something that Michigan State has. They failed to score a touchdown in a lot of their games this year. Okay, and they failed to score 2 touchdowns in a lot of their games this year. So Nebraska's going to stretch that to 21 straight games. The only game they didn't last year was the South Carolina Bowl game, but we're talking regular season games right now. I got Nebraska winning this one 20-12. They hold the Spartans out of the end zone for the second straight year and the second straight game that Nebraska doesn't allow a team to score a touchdown. TCU at West Virginia, the battle of the newbies in the Big 12. Neither of these teams are close to competing for the Big 12 title, but this should be an interesting high-scoring game. TCU has played inconsistent, and they struggled with the Oklahoma State crowd. I like the Mountaineers to pull out a tight one, 42-41. A&M at Mississippi State, Johnny Manziel continues to impress as the Bulldogs begin their long fall back to where they belong, 34-27, Aggies. Oregon at USC, the matchup that all Pac-12 fans have been waiting for, one that could preview the Pac-12 championship, but this is not what most college football fans expected. They didn't expect USC to have 2 losses and really just struggle against any solid opponent, any quality opponent. The next 4 for the Trojans will result in at least 2 losses, and then on top of that, they're playing 2 top 5 teams and 2 other surprise teams that are playing pretty well too. And it's looking like a long shot for me to say that USC will win the South. I like the Ducks to come into the Coliseum and roll 50-27. Trojans will probably keep this one tight for a half, but their lack of depth will be exposed in the second half. Bama at Yale LSU, they met twice last year, splitting the games. This time, I think the Tide are the team to beat, and they're going to handle LSU in that struggling offense in Baton Rouge. 20-9, Alabama rolls. I like Alabama, and I think they proved that they are as good as people think they are. Clemson at Duke. Duke had its first real test and were completely outmatched by the class of the ACC and the Seminoles. They will get an opportunity to defeat a ranked team and really make a statement against the Tigers that could be on their way to a BCS at-large bid. I think that Clemson is going to keep this one tight for a half because Clemson not very well. They're not very good defensively, but I think they get it done in the second half. Clemson wins this one 42-23. ASU at Oregon State. This is the kind of point where the Sun Devils begin their fall. Can Todd Graham end that habit? The Beavers ended their undefeated season last week and appear to be losing confidence. I'm actually going with the Sun Devils in a low-scoring, ugly game. I like the Sun Devils to go on the road and beat an Oregon State team that I think is on their way down, big time. Oklahoma State at K-State. Maybe the biggest hurdle remaining for the Wildcats as they continue this magical run. The Cowboys have played well this year, and they get an opportunity to make a statement on the road. They cannot have turnovers and penalties like they have had. I think this is going to be a wild one, just like last year's was. And the Wildcats are going to show they are human. But they do escape with a late comeback from Colin Klein, 41-31 K-State. Virginia Tech at Miami. This will decide who plays FSU in the ACC, whatever division that is, Atlantic or Coastal, I'm not sure. But this disappointing Hokies team faces a Miami team that is playing better than people anticipated, but they're just not that great. I think Miami's going to get this one, 41-34, and a good one. Texas at Texas Tech. I got to see how Texas Tech bounces back here. Last week or a couple weeks ago after they lost to Oklahoma, they bounced back to smash West Virginia. They got smashed last week against Kansas State. Let's see if they can bounce back against Texas. They got them at home. I think they do, and they get another impressive win as they demolish Texas 48-20. U of A at UCLA. You would think, U of A is out of the conference title race, but if they went out and USC loses, which it's going to happen, to either UCLA or USC or Oregon, they could represent the South if they can do that. That being said, the UCLA Bruins completely control their own destiny and will play and will have a chance to play Oregon in the Pac-12 championship if they can win out. And this year they'll actually be a deserving recipient. I like UCLA actually at home. I think U of A is going to come out a little flat in this one. But I like Brett Hundley to do enough offensively to get his team to win. I think this is going to be a great game. You got to watch this one. 45-42, Bruins beat the Wildcats at home, and they continue to control their own destiny, and they could be looking at a rematch against Nebraska. Hey, I'd be all for that. I want to beat you guys again, or not beat you guys again, but actually beat you guys. Thanks for watching. Check back next week as it's going to be week 11, previewing week 11. That's it, pretty much. Another great year of college football. It's starting to get really interesting. It started off slow, but it's starting to take stride, and we could potentially end up with 4 undefeated teams and be crying for that 14 playoff a couple years early. But thanks for watching. Check back later next week, Tuesday or so, to watch that video. Go Big Red. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, please.